Welcome everybody to the 2022 Gaming Advisory Commission. That should stop right there. My name is Phil Talon. I'm the Chief of Staff and also the Chairman of this committee. And we're excited to get started with this year's grant requests and review, and hopefully a lot of approvals for a lot of great organizations. Why don't we start with a roll call for members. Alexander, not here. Zolno.
Present.
Edwards.
Present.
Farrell.
Present.
Flores.
Present.
Mabry. Not here. Rakos.
Here.
Zaney.
Here.
Venez. Not here. Wheelgus.
Here.
And Talon here. So I believe we have 8 present, 3 absent, if I did that math correctly. All right. For the folks that are tuning in at home and watching live, this is a commission that was put together by the City Council and Mayor McDermott. It's by ordinance, a certain percentage of funds will go into this account every year based on the annual budget and revenues for the City of Hammond. Last time we did this in 2021, obviously it was a COVID year, and I think we had approximately $300,000 that we're able to grant to a lot of needy organizations. This year, fortunately, we're at about $550,000 that we're going to be able to grant. So hopefully we're going to have a lot of great requests this year from organizations and be able to give money to groups that are using it for a lot of important things in the City of Hammond. We did have a work study session right before this, and we have some discussions to talk through applications and organizations so that we're familiar with them as we're talking in front of the public. Just so you know, if any one of us is a board member for an organization, we will abstain from the discussion as far as for an approval amount for that organization. However, we do tap into the knowledge of that board member since they do have intimate knowledge of the organization that they serve. With that, we will get started. And for those watching at home one more time, I just want to make it clear that the way we do this is we're going to start going through applications. Because we're working towards an amount, it's very difficult to know whether at the end of going through all the applications we'll have extra money or we will be short money. So what we'll do is we'll come up with an approved amount that the commission is comfortable with, and then at the end, if we have additional dollars, we are looking at certain organizations that maybe we can give some additional dollars to, or unfortunately, if we go over the amount, we'll have to go back and potentially take some dollars away. So I just want to make sure everybody watching from home, if you hear an approval today, a verbal approval, unfortunately, we cannot give 100% approval until a motion is made at the third and final meeting, knowing that what budget we have and that the dollars equal that amount. So I just want to temper everybody's expectations as far as knowing exactly what organizations will get what in these first 2 meetings. With that, we'll get started. Does anybody have any questions?
Mr. President, I think I'll just add, I think we have another board member that just joined us.
Oh, look, we do. Is Katrina Alexander, are you present?
I am present, and I will be there shortly.
Okay. All right, then let's change that to we have 9 board members present and 2 are not. Okay. And Ms. Zaney, do we know, does Ms. Alexander have her packet?
Yes.
She does. Okay, good. That would be helpful. All right, and sorry for the ringing in the background. Not sure what that is. Let's just blame Jake Jacobs and move on. First application is the American Legion, Hammond, Victory Post number 168. Their request amount this year is $12,190. How will the grant be used is to complete Phase 2 and Phase 3 of their parking lot, which is their front lot parking, and their entrance driveway, which is located on Columbia Avenue. One other thing I should mention for the people watching from home is that because we get applications and requests in the amount of approximately, this year in the amount of approximately $1.1 million, we know starting off that we are going to have to cut that in half. So typically, as we're looking through applications, especially early on, we probably, in a lot of situations, could end up lowering the amount a little bit. It's nothing against the organization, it's just we have so many applications and we want to make sure we help as many organizations as we can. So with that, we have a request of $12,190. Do we have any board members that have a recommendation?
I suggest 6,000 at this time and move forward with it and possibly further review at the end.
Okay, we have a recommendation for $6,000. Are there any other comments? Any other comments? We're comfortable with 6,000? Okay, we'll mark $6,000 down. All right, and we'll move to the next one. Next organization is Association it's the American Veterans Collection, and their total request this year is $15,000. Somehow, give me just 1 second. I did that, but I didn't. Here it is. Sorry. Okay, American Veterans Collection, they're asking for $15,000. The amount requested, the funds will be used to support our giving seasons of Thanksgiving and Christmas, and these are their words. In the last 2 years, that project alone was over $12,000. They'll also be available for emergency home repair and placing veterans in transitional housing. We offer many services to the veterans to help them make the necessary changes in their life. With that, do we have any recommendations from the board?
I would recommend we give $4,000 because this gentleman's in Lowell. And until we see like what percentage actually goes to Hammond residents or Hammond veterans. So I would suggest $4,000 now, and we could revisit it later on.
Okay, we have a suggestion for $4,000. I also can reach out to them and get a little bit of clarification on how many Hammond residents they're servicing, with the organization being headquartered in Lowell. Do we have any other comments or suggestions? Okay, then we will mark down 4,000 and move on to the next organization. Next, we have the Association for the Wolf Lake Initiative. They are requesting $600, as I believe they did the exact same request last year. I believe the money is funding for a Wolf Lake Watershed Advisory Committee meeting. It'll be held on Friday, November 4th, 2022, in room 200 of Calumet College. They also will have other co-sponsors, Calumet College of St. Joseph and Legacy Foundation. So it's essentially to hold this meeting to talk about the watershed. Do we have any recommendations from the committee?
Mr. President, go ahead. Mr. President, I'd recommend that we do the $600 ask.
Okay, we have a recommendation to give them the full amount of $600. Are there any other comments? Questions?
No, I agree with the 600. You know, they've been asking for that for years. It never goes up, so.
$600 is certainly not the largest request, so
Right.
it's nice to know somebody is truly just asking for what is needed for the organization. I'm sure they all are trying to do their best to do that, but okay, then we will mark down $600 and we'll move on to the next organization. Next is the Bishop Noll Institute. Their request is for $50,000. I believe it's similar to last year. The overall cost of their project is $260,000, which I believe is the same as last year. And last year, we approved $10,000. How does this benefit benefit Hammond? How does this grant benefit Hammond? It says this year, 41% of their student population is made up of Hammond residents who will directly benefit from this grant by learning skills that prepare them for college and career environments. Careers in STEM-related fields are predicted to grow over the next several years. Now is the time to upgrade their facility and curriculums to ensure that BNI graduates are well prepared for these opportunities. This grant will help complete their state-of-the-art STREAM lab and will help their students getting exposure and skills in engineering and computer technology fields. It also states that this lab space is planned to begin in April of 2022 and will be completed by July 2022. So, do we have any recommendations from the board?
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I'd like to suggest that we go with 10,000, as we did last year.
We have a suggestion to do 10,000. Are there any other comments?
No.
Okay, we'll mark them down for 10,000 and go to the next organization. Next, we have books, brushes, and bands. Their request this year is 25,000. We did give them a grant last year for 10,000. I think we're all pretty familiar with Michelle Golden, who runs the organization, and also very familiar with their program and how they're obviously teaching children the importance of exactly what the name of their group is, books, brushes, and bands. They give a very detailed explanation of what they need the money for. So I'm not going to go through the whole list, or we're going to be here a while, but it's very detailed. Do we have a recommendation from the group for books, brushes, and bands?
Mr. President, I suggest 10,000 for now with possible review at the end, same as we did last year.
Okay, we have a recommendation for 10,000, but also asking for a potential review so that if there are extra funds at the end of the third session, that we could potentially look at increasing that amount.
Mr. President, I agree with that as well.
Okay, Mr. Rakos agrees. Anybody else? Any comments? Good, great, thank you. We'll mark books, brushes, and bands down for 10,000. Next, we are going to the Boys and Girls Club of Northwest Indiana. Their request is for $9,932. Last year, they also made a request, but we didn't give them a grant only because at the time, Mayor Tom and the Hammond City Council had given the Boys and Girls Club a grant of approximately $400,000 for their large renovation they had at their facility. I was able to attend their ribbon cutting, which was not that long ago, actually, and they did a great job. The facility has been upgraded, it's modernized. You certainly could tell the kids were excited about it, so kudos to Boys and Girls Club for what they were able to do.
Mr. President, I would recommend that we give the Boys and Girls Club in Northwest Indiana the ask of $9,932.
We have a suggestion to do the full amount of $9,932. Do we have any other questions, comments?
I agree.
All right, very good. Let's mark them down for $9,932. Next, we have Cause for Pause, Gary, and their request is for $4,500. They are asking the money for dog food, cat litter, and also they put in some supplies as well. It does show this organization is located in Gary, which we have organizations that are located in other communities that do service people, and in this case, animals, I suppose, in the city of Hammond. We also do have a few other organizations that, including the animal shelter for the city of Hammond, that handles some of the similar type causes of this one, and I know we do work closely with Humane Society as well, which obviously is headquartered in Munster, used to be headquartered in Hammond back in the day when I was on a board. So anyhow, do we have any recommendations for cause for pause, Gary?
Mr. President, I would suggest that at this time, we deny the request only because of the facts that you stated. We have our own Hammond Animal Shelter here in Hammond, and I know they're constantly struggling with the same requests that this organization is asking for. So my suggestion would be we deny this.
So we have a suggestion to deny and focus on some of the same services with some of the Hammond organizations, or not saying they don't service some Hammond, but organizations that are located in Hammond that are specifically only to Hammond. Do we have any other questions or comments?
Mr. President, I would agree with that. The city of Gary should also have their own gaming funds, so I would suggest for them to apply within their city.
That's a good point as well. Any other comments? Okay, for now, we'll just put a no on that one. And we will move on to the next one, which is the Center of Workforce Innovations Adult Education. The CEO is Lisa Doherty, who used to be with United Way, and not that long ago moved to this organization, which also is referred to as Workforce One. Asking what their grant benefits is, they talk about the 2019 census data reveals 23.8% of Hammond residents age 18 to 24 and 17.5% of residents age 25 and over are without a high school diploma or equivalency. These initiatives outlined in this application seek to boost the number of Hammond residents that are able to achieve their high school diploma. And there, it goes on a little bit longer, but I think you get the gist of what the organization does. In our study session, when we were discussing this, I think it might have been Mr. Wilgus brought up that there was a question as far as how the Center of Workforce Innovations Adult Education is funded, because I believe you believe that the state of Indiana actually funds them. Is that correct?
Well, I took a little closer look at the return that was included in their application, and if everybody would like to look at Schedule B of their return, it looks like it's page 2 of that return. The U.S. Department of Labor, total contribution $9,621,000. U.S. Department of Education, $466,000. Indiana Department of Workforce Development, $1,460,000. U.S. Department of Treasury, $377,000.
That's their funding that they have listed. So the question then becomes the need for the grant on top of the funding they're currently receiving, correct?
That would be my concern in the fact that, we have programs within the city itself that also try to do these various activities. And my recommendation would be that we try to funnel those dollars to these same organizations within the city to help further them along.
Very good. If it pleases the commission, I will reach out to Lisa Doherty directly and have a conversation with her about their current funding and the request for additional funding, if that's good with everybody. And how about we kind of table it and we'll come back to it.
That sounds good.
Does that make sense?
Mr. President?
Yes,
Could you also find out the relationship with the Hammond Career Center?
absolutely. Did you see something listed on there?
Yes.
Mrs. Flores? Okay, I will definitely do that. Okay, so we'll put that to the side for now, and we'll get a little bit of additional information. Thank you. All right, next is the Challenger Learning Center of Northwest Indiana. Their total requested amount is $30,000. Last year, we gave them a grant for $10,000. myself and Mr. Wilgus serve on the board for the Challenger Center, so we'll abstain from any recommendations as far as amounts, but obviously we're open to answer any questions anybody has about the organization. This proposal is being submitted to provide funding to assist with program fees for Hammond students to attend exciting, hands-on, engaging, space-themed, and STEM-rich programs at the Challenger Learning Center of Northwest Indiana. This funding would provide an opportunity for the fifth grade student population of the school city of Hammond to explore Mars, rendezvous with a comet, or return to the moon. This historical and robust partnership with the school city of Hammond has continued to evolve over the past several years. We value the commitment from both the city of Hammond and School City has made to increase access to STEM education for our community youth. And they go on a little bit further. Do we have any recommendations from the board?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I recommend we allot them $10,000 as we did last year, with the possibility of revisiting depending upon the total funds available at the end.
Okay, we have a recommendation for 10,000 with the asterisk of taking a look at this one at the end if there is additional funds available. Are there any other comments?
I agree.
Good, okay, we will mark that down and go to the next one. Daughters of Destiny Enterprises. They are making a request for $50,000. In their grant request, it says, Daughters of Destiny Enterprises has added an entrepreneurial incubation center to its facility in Hammond, Indiana, which will teach entrepreneurs and those who want to become an entrepreneur how to start their own business and how to grow their own business. This will result in those who want to become an entrepreneur to bring their family, their home, and their community into sustainability. It also says that this would be used to purchase desks and computers to teach and train entrepreneurs, and it would be used for business consultants, a stipend for business consultants, which would be used to mentor the entrepreneurs for 6 months to help their business grow. I do know in Hammond, in downtown Hammond, we have the Hub of Innovation, where the Hammond Development Corporation is offering a very similar program. I've been to a few of the classes before, and I know it's operating right now because they had a class there last week when I went into the building. So I just want to bring that up as well. But from the board, do we have any recommendations?
I think, Mr. President, not only do we have that great facility in downtown Hammond, the Hub, but we also have Purdue University located right here in Hammond that is expanding that project, actually looking at acquiring another building to specifically do that and expand their portion of that. So
we have 2 organizations in Hammond that are currently doing this that we're aware of. Is there any other comments from any board members or any recommendations?
Mr. President, I would suggest that we pass on this. We need to learn more about this organization going forward, so for this year, I would say we would pass.
Okay, we have a recommendation to pass on this request, and then maybe also learn a little bit more. Since I think when we were talking about this in work study, nobody knew of the organization specifically, so it might be a good idea to have a conversation with somebody from the organization as well. Any other comments? Okay, for right now, we will pass, and with the asterisk of reaching out and learning a little bit more about the organization for future requests. Next is the Four Quarters for Life Community Organization. They are requesting $15,000. Last year, they were given a grant for $5,000. The purpose of their funding, they will utilize it. The funding requested this year for their Four Quarters for Life athletic mentoring program in Hammond, which will consist of a 2-day 7v7 flag football skill camp during non-school hours. The sports mentor program for boys and girls ages 6 to 17, grades 2nd grade to 12th grade, is designed to increase skills, combine sports and physical activity with healthy lessons, and help youth in the Hammond community learn positive reinforcement and life lessons through the sport of football. So it looks like it's a 2-day 7v7 flag football skill camp. I don't see, I'm looking for the exact breakdown of what the funds would go towards. I don't see that up front.
No, it's the second to the last page.
Oh, thank you. Take a look at that. Oh, here, thank you. So the budget says, 2022 Hammond, Indiana, 4 Quarters for Life Sports Mentoring Camps, 200 participants, T-shirts and the camp banners, $2,000, camp supplies and equipment, $1,500, 4 Quarters for Life Kids Care Project, $1,000, project coordinator, $2,500, instructors, referees, volunteers, $5,500, insurance, $500, food and beverages, $1,500, travel, transportation, lodging, $1,750, facilities, $1,800, and participant awards, $1,200. Do we have any suggestions from the board?
You know, Mr. President, going through their expenditure request, I think I would feel comfortable of specifically us designating some amounts of money that we would grant. So the first one would be the T-shirts and camp banner for $2,000. And then I would also say that we should do the food-beverages for $1,500 and participant awards of $1,200.
So altogether, you're asking for $4,700?
That is
approval
correct.
for 4
Yes.
Quarters for Life?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have any other comments or suggestions? If not, we can mark them down for $4,700. I hope, that was quick math by me, so I hope that was accurate. 3,500 plus 1,200, so 4,700,
I
correct?
think you were once a banker.
One time. That was in a previous life, Mr. Wilgus. Now I carry calculators with me. Okay, we'll mark them down for $4,700 right now. Okay, next, the Genesius Guild. Their request is for $5,000. They are located at 6635 Holman Avenue. How will this grant benefit Hammond residents? The Genesius Guild has been a place for Hammond residents to come and experience theater together, from being on stage to crafting costumes and sets, working backstage. Families have experienced entertaining plays and musicals, Christmas and children's productions over the years. When people experience theater together, research has shown that even their hearts begin to beat in synchronization. That is community. This grant would benefit the residents of Hammond because they would experience a higher caliber production with clear sound, artistic lighting, and a safe and fun experience for all involved. I happened to tour this facility last week because I serve on the Legacy Foundation as well, and I know they're asking the Legacy Foundation for a grant also. And although I never heard of this organization in the past, I was very interested to hear that they do service all of Hammond. They actually open up acting positions for anybody and everybody, including people that have special needs, if they're interested in acting in a play. It was, they also have offered services where they've had people there of up to 120 people, so it can be larger. It is located in a church, but is not specific to the church. It's open to everybody. With that, do we have any recommendations from the group?
Mr. President, I would recommend giving them the full $5,000 they're asking.
Okay, we have a recommendation for the $5,000,
I would agree, Mr. President.
and we have an agreement. Are there any other comments? All right, we will mark them down now for $5,000 and go on to the next one. Next is Girls on the Run of Northwest Indiana. Their request is for $10,000. Last year, we gave them a grant of $7,500. What is the purpose of the funding? If awarded, the funding will be used specifically for scholarship assistance for Hammond participants in the fall 2022 and spring 2023 seasons. In the current 2021-22 spring and fall seasons, Girls on the Run of Northwest Indiana has provided over $25,000 in financial assistance to 156 GOTR participants from Hammond. In the fall and spring 2022-2023 seasons, We expect to serve approximately 225 Hammond girls at 14 elementary and middle schools on 15 teams while providing over $35,000 in scholarship assistance. It does also talk about our organization has a clear commitment to access for all girls, shown by maintaining one of the highest scholarship rates among all 200 GOTR councils, never turning away a girl due to her socioeconomic status, and offering program registration on a sliding fee scale based on household income and size to better serve ALICE, which stands for Asset Limited, Income Restrained, Employed Families. So, with that, the request is for $10,000. Do we have a recommendation from the board?
Mr. President, I suggest that we give them the $7,500 as we did as last year.
We have a recommendation to do $7,500, same as last year's grant award. Do we have any other comments? Okay, let's mark them down for $7,500, and we will move on to the next application. Next, we have Greater Hammond Community Service. Their grant application request is $25,000. Last year, we gave them a $10,000 grant. It says these funds will be used for a lawn care program. We'd like to advertise our program, get the word out, in order to serve more people that are in need of this service. The cut price per lawn last year was $45, which seems reasonable. I would think that might even go up a little bit because with gas prices the way they are, it's probably going to be more expensive. With $25,000, we could serve 25 to 30 Hammond residents, senior and/or disabled, with lawn care throughout the summer and into the fall. Do we have a recommendation from the board?
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Rickos?
I recommend $15,000 for this year, an increase from last year. We all know it's a very good organization. It does a lot for the community, especially the older senior citizens.
Okay, we have a recommendation for $15,000. Do we have any other comments?
I would agree with that, Mr. President.
We have an agreement. Okay, with that, we'll mark it down for $15,000 and go to the next application. Next is Habitat for Humanity, Northwest Indiana. Their request is for $9,000. Last year, we gave them a grant of $5,000. This year, the request is for a house at 1214 Sherman Street. It's a home that's being construction for the Harris family. Daniel Harris and his wife, I'm going to pronounce that wrong, but I'm going to go with Ladia. And their 4 children, soon to be 5, are currently attending a 9-week financial literacy course and working on meeting their 300 sweat hours. So the $9,000 is specific for that house. Do we have a recommendation from the board?
Mr. President, I would suggest that we do $5,000 with the opportunity to reconsider if we have monies left over.
We have a recommendation for $5,000 with an asterisk on the side of it to take a look back if we have additional funding in the future at the end of this process. Do we have any other comments?
I agree, Mr. President.
Okay, we have agreement. All right, let's mark them down for $5,000 now, and we'll put a little asterisk on the side to come back at the end. Next is the Hammond Academy of Science and Technology. They made a request of $10,000. Last year, we gave them a grant of $5,000. And for those that are maybe tuning in a little late, just so you're aware, last year we had a max of a grant allowed because of funding was limited due to revenue issues because of COVID. So this year we have a little bit more funding available. This says the funds will be distributed according to the needs of their programs, prioritized by season. Fall sports are in dire need of new equipment. Their soccer team needs new balls for practice and games. And it goes through costs of the balls and how many they use. We also need a portable scoreboard and time clock, which is about $1,500. Their volleyball teams have been using the same balls for at least 8 years. Volleyballs range from $50 to $70 essentially. Our team needs at least 24 for practice, 2 for games. It also talks about basketball teams needing new balls and goes through pricing of that as well. They also need chairs for team benches to be utilized during home games, and it gives prices. Do we have a recommendation from the board?
Mr. President, I have to recuse myself because I sit on this board.
Mr. Wilgus will not vote or talk about an amount for this specific organization. Do we have a recommendation? Yes.
I would suggest that we go with the same amount as last year of 5,000 and possibly revisit if there are any funds left over at the end.
Okay, we will put, I'm sorry, is there any other recommendations?
No, I agree.
All right, we will mark them down for 5,000, and we'll put an asterisk on the side of this one to revisit it at the end of the process. This actually will conclude our first day of the Hammond Gaming Advisory Committee. I think we went through almost 20. The next Hammond Gaming Advisory meeting is on March 22nd at, again, 4 o'clock will be the study session, 5 o'clock will be the meeting here in council chambers. I believe we will get through the bulk of our applications during the next session. And then, if all goes well, our last and final session will be on Thursday, April 7th, at same times, in which we will finalize the grant amounts for each organization. So we did good of getting through the first 20 for this first meeting, and looking forward to going over the next one. I'm hearing
What?
nothing. Okay, I'm not hearing anything. That's all we have. So is there any other comments before we close this meeting today?
No.
If not, then do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
You have to pick it up if we're gonna
Good job.